One question I haven't asked, this will be the final question, is, and I should have asked this earlier, is the songwriting process for you as well? Is it more of a natural thing? How have you had writer's block? Is it just kind of, you just sit there and like, right now I'm going to hammer out this song and it just happens? How's that coming along and how does that work out for you?
I think for me, writing is a very deliberate process. Like, at least these days, I don't tend to come up with songs randomly. I really have to decide, like, well, I would like to write some songs now, and then I get up and I play the piano and I do my scales and I read through other pieces, and then I just kind of start a folder, if you will, of little like scraps of stuff. I'll record little bits, and then from there I'll start walking around town with my headphones in with these little scraps playing in my head and thinking about what I want them to be. But it's a pretty deliberate process. The songs don't just happen. And there are times when I've wondered whether I'm kind of a fraud as a songwriter because songs don't happen to me spontaneously. And they are kind of a lot of work, especially the lyric writing part. But I do enjoy it a lot, and I do like performing them once they're written. I don't know, what is it like for you?
Very slow. I think that I've tried to sit down. It depends on what they're for. I mean, I think that when I'm writing for a specific purpose, then it's easier for me to sit down and kind of do it like you're at work and you're kind of putting in the hard hat hours and hammering it out. When it's more about something that's more personal, I think that I could sit down for, till my hair falls out playing around on the guitar. If I don't have the seed of an idea, then it's just an exercise in frustration. And then sometimes, I'll get an idea, and if it doesn't hang around in my head for 2 or 3 days and keep bugging me, then it's usually not something that's worth pursuing. But then when you get these things, you wake up with something, and often for me, I'll wake up with something really small fragment, and then 3 days later, it'll still be kind of accosting me in my head, and then that's when I start to develop it.
So is there anything you have left to say that hasn't been covered yet?
Well, that last question did remind me that recently I started doing something new. I started writing for a theater project. There's this woman who had written this whole book for what she imagined to be a musical, basically. And she wanted somebody to write the music for it. And all the lyrics were written too, but they were in a very loose form, so she wanted the composer to play around with them too. And she asked me to come on board and do it. And it was a really fascinating process and totally exhausting because, like I said, writing is sort of difficult for me. And it takes me 3 years to write 12 songs for an album. And here I was suddenly with this musical theater thing, and I had to write 23 songs in 6 months. It was really nuts. But it was also a really good exercise, because all of a sudden I said, okay, well, I have until tomorrow to write these 2 songs because there's some actors who need to learn it. So here we go, and just like go with, the ideas actually did come a lot faster because I had to have them, and I think that's sort of what happens.
Deadlines can be good.
So if someone just sat us down and said, you must write a brilliant album now, maybe it would happen. Maybe.
And how's did you finish the theater project, or are you still working on it? Or?
I'm still working on it. I mean, we just did a reading of the entire thing from beginning to end, and that was pretty cool. I still wonder if the music is way too cheesy, because I still think that I could work on it a fair bit. So we'll probably go back and revise a lot of it. But it was fun.
Any plans to play any of it in any of your shows to test it out, just in case?
Well, the other really cool thing about writing for theater is that you can write for multiple voices. And so a lot of these songs have like 6 people singing at once, and they're not necessarily singing the same melody, Actually, the woman I was working with, Tanya Schaefer, this became a joke because she would put in the script, voices build to a cacophony. I was like, do you realize how hard it is to have voices build to a cacophony? But I would try to do it, one person would start singing, another person would sing under them, and they would kind of harmonize but clash at the same time, and then I'd add like a 3rd and 4th person. So if I can ever get that many people on stage to do that, maybe we could do some material from that.
could be audience participation night tonight.
That's true.
Never know. Hand out sheets of paper at the door, you know. That's it, I guess, really. I'll let you guys get to, guess, resting before the show or so.
All right.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Barry.
All right, thank you.
It's been fun.
It has.